Hey guys, it's Maddie. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the first episode of Beauty School Fridays. I think in most places around the world it's going to be Saturday when this is posted, but it's Friday in Australia, so I'm just going to call it Beauty School Fridays. So it's going to be something I'm doing every week, every Friday obviously. I will be posting like a more kind of educational video. I realized when I did my skincare routine, so many people just wanted to know more about the skin, and I got so many requests for like an oily skin video or dry skin video, sensitive skin video. So I just thought that's kind of a cool series. I do know a bit about the skin and other kind of educational things in the beauty kind of realm. So if you have any other kind of educational requests, it can be beauty, makeup, skin, anything kind of related to that stuff. Just not hair. I don't know anything about hair, so. But anyway, today's video is on oily skin, and I kind of didn't really know how to approach this sort of video, and then I just thought I'll just answer the questions that I imagine most people have about oily skin. So if this is something that you're interested in, keep watching and we'll get straight into it. Okay guys, so the first question is, how do I know that I have oily skin? Generally, you can tell someone's skin type by their pore size. So if you've got large pores all over the face, almost like an orange peel kind of texture, you probably have oily skin. And then if you've got kind of larger pores down the T-zone and then smaller pores on the outer portions of your face, then you've got a combination skin. And then if you've got really fine pores all over the face, like barely visible, then you've got a dry kind of skin. So if you've got large pores, oily skin. If you've got large pores only down the T-zone, you've got an oily T-zone. So this video can also be relatable for you guys as well. That's the kind of skin type I have. What are pores and why do we have them? Okay, so pores are like the little holes that you see in your skin. They look like that. And they are different sizes. Everyone has different pore sizes, and usually the rule is the larger the pore, the more oil flow. Now, oily skin isn't a bad thing, not at all. Everyone's always like, I need to fix my oily skin, but no, you don't need to. It's just a skin type, and actually it helps you age slower because your skin's always kind of moist, so that's a plus. The reason we have pores is because they secrete a like oil or sebum and a bit of sweat as well, and that just kind of sits on the top of the skin. It's like a really thin layer. It's called the acid mantle, which is like a protective layer on the skin that kind of protects it from bacteria and a lot of environmental factors. And the pH level of that acid mantle should sit around 5.5, so it's slightly on the acidic side. And if you use products that aren't pH balanced, this is where your skin can really struggle, you know. Like if you've got an oily skin and you're using the wrong products, this is why you're going to get acne. So we'll talk about that a bit later. Next question is, can I change my skin type? No, you can't change your skin type really. It's genetic, so you're usually born with a skin type. You have kind of normal skin all the way up until you're like 12, hitting puberty, and that's when, you know, all your hormones change and you'll find that your skin will either move towards the more dry side or the more oily side. In saying that though, your skin condition can change. So, you know, with seasonal changes, hormonal changes, you might find, you know, in the summer when you're sweating more, your skin might feel more oily, or opposite to that, in the winter you might find that your skin feels a bit more tight and dehydrated. So even though you have an oily skin, you still might get a bit flaky and dehydrated. So even though your genetic skin type can't change, you can definitely have other skin conditions going on at the same time. Now, after hearing that, you're probably wondering, why do I get dry patches if I have oily skin? As I said before, this means that the skin's dehydrated. So it's not dry, you're not lacking oil, your skin's lacking water, so it's just thirsty. So this can be treated internally and externally. You can up your water intake, but some of you probably already do have a high water intake and you still get the dry patches. So sometimes it can be to do with, you know, if you're in the car or at home and you've got the heating or the cooling on your face, that can really kind of drain everything out of your skin. So what you can try is like a hydrating serum underneath your moisturizer, something with, there's an ingredient called hyaluronic acid in it, and that is a really good one. So don't go to like Safeway or the chemist or something and buy a cheap one from there. Go to a proper spa or skin clinic and ask them about it, because any product can say they've got hyaluronic acid in it, but it might be literally the last ingredient in it, which means it's the smallest percentile of that product. Another thing you can try is it's something called a dry oil, and I know people with oily skin get so freaked out thinking of like putting an oil on their face, but a dry oil is perfectly fine to put on an oilier skin type. It feels kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but like before, if you go to a skin clinic and just ask them, what do I do with my skin? I'm sure they'll help you out. I'm sure a really popular question is going to be, so what do I use on my skin? Now this one's a hard one because everyone's got different budgets, everyone's got different priorities. So you know, one person might have a 2-step skincare routine, another person might have a 6-step skincare routine. So the basics are definitely cleansing and moisturizing, and probably for oily skin, toning's an important one as well. So for a cleanser, you want to do that morning and night, and you want to use like one specifically made for oilier skin types. So it's most likely going to be a gel consistency because that's really good for degreasing. For toning, you can use, actually you just buy it from the drugstore, witch hazel. It's good for kind of refining the pores. It's an astringent, which means it's going to tighten the pores temporarily, which really helps control oil flow, and it's also got good antibacterial properties in it as well. For moisturizing, you want to use like it's nice and thin, kind of light one. It's called a lotion rather than a cream. So a lotion's got a higher water content rather than oil content. And you want to make sure you're doing that twice a day as well, and after cleansing and toning. Exfoliating is also a really big thing for people with oily skin. You're going to have a lot of kind of thickened dead skin cells sitting on the top of your face, and a lot of the time that can kind of clog the pores. So exfoliate with a nice granular exfoliant, and depending on the type of exfoliant, 2 to 3 times a week. Just see how you go. Another good ingredient to look for in an exfoliant is something called salicylic acid. So it's a beta hydroxy acid, and what it does, it's like little Pac-Mans, and they're like an enzyme, and it's the only acid that actually goes into your pores and cleanses them out. So that's a really good one, but obviously products with that in it are going to be a little bit more pricey. If you want to take it a step further, you can use a serum. So something like a refining or a balancing serum will be good for you guys because it's going to help refine the pores, so control oil flow and, you know, balance out the pH and everything like that, which is very important. And then another step could be a charcoal mask. So anywhere that you get those kind of like big blinder pimples, or like if down your T-zone it's just like an oil slick, a charcoal mask is really great to do once a week really. And you're just gonna put it on the really oily areas or the big blind pimples, and what the charcoal does is it kind of absorbs any excess oil that just doesn't need to be there. It's like what a blotting paper does, but it's a mask. So that one's really good too. Now this is a really important one. What brands are the best for oily skin? Now I swear by 3 that I'm just in love with. Obviously I don't have super oily skin, but these kind of skincare brands are just good across the board for everyone, and a lot of them do have their own specific oily skincare line. I really swear by Alpha H. It's Australian owned, which is so cool, but you can get it anywhere over the world. I'm pretty sure they stock worldwide. That one's really good because they use a lot of the acids that I was talking about before, and they use them in like every product, so it's really good for resurfacing, which is what oily skin types need help with. Another one I love, and it's the one that I use, is called Dermalogica. And now if you're in Australia or New Zealand, they also stock Dermalogica at Mecca Maxima, which they've just started, so that's really cool. And the reason I love Dermalogica is because it targets skincare concerns as like a health issue rather than a cosmetic concern, if that makes sense. And then there's another brand called DMK. Now this brand is incredible. All you have to do is just Google DMK facials or DMK peels, and you'll just see these incredible transformations from people with severe like cystic acne, and now their skin's like perfect. So ideally you want to use a cosmeceutical brand. So what that is, it's a brand that does products that are kind of in between beauty counter products and then really invasive, you know, facial treatments. So it's a good kind of in between, and you want to look for kind of resurfacing products. So things that are just going to help shed all this dead skin, dirt, oil that we don't need. That way you're actually treating something rather than just using something like Proactive, which is just a band-aid treatment. So it's really important to get on a good brand and the right brand. So just find what's good for you. What are some good facials I should try? I think the two best facials that I'm aware of for oily skin types would probably be a chemical peel and microdermabrasion. So a peel, what it does, depending on the degree and severity of the acids that they're using, it's just gonna really help with resurfacing. So get rid of all that gunk, congestion, just dirty skin that's just sitting there doing nothing, and just bring out the fresh skin underneath. The thing with these kinds of facials is it's not a one-off thing. You need to do them probably every month to 2 months, ideally every month. So some peels, you need downtime for them, and your skin actually peels off as if you've been sunburned, and that's what the DMK brand that I was talking about does. If you have a DMK salon near you, you should go and check it out. I'm dying for one of those facials. Other peels, we do one at work, and it's quite a mild one. I actually do one every 2 weeks, and I definitely notice a difference. It really helps bring out the brightness in my skin, and I always had really bad congestion here. Like, they weren't even pimples, they were just little bumps under my skin, and if I ever tried to pick them out, then they would turn into giant like blinders that would last for like a week or 2, and it was just so bad. But since doing the peels, because it's constantly resurfacing, I've found that I just really very rarely get congestion. I mean, I still have a few, but not as bad as it was. And then the microdermabrasion, it's like a little little cylindrical vacuum thing with like a diamond encrusted top. I don't know how to explain it, but you glide it across the skin. Well, your therapist will glide it across the skin, and it kind of scrapes off any dead skin, feels kind of like sandpaper, and sucks it out. So when I used to have those big blinders, she would just really work over those. So it's really sucking everything out that's deep. And usually with this kind of facial, your skin gets worse before it gets better. So I remember when I'd get microdermabrasion, the week after I got it, my skin was feral. Like, everything that was laying underneath, like all the congestion, it just came right out, and it was just so pimply. And then after it just was really like glowy, and my skin just looked so healthy, So sometimes it's like, if you get a cold, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. You just gotta do the dirty work, get it out of the way, and then you'll really notice a difference with your skin. Now, last but not least, the all-important do's, don'ts, tips, and tricks. Firstly, use a silicone-based primer if you've got oily skin. That's going to create the perfect barrier that your foundation needs to kind of last long hours. A silicone-based primer is just going to totally mattify the skin, and it's going to block any oil flow that your skin's producing from kind of getting to the foundation. So just think of a primer as like a gate, and your skin's on one side, the foundation's on the other. I personally have never done this, but I've seen a lot of other beauty gurus with oily skin do this. They say blot your skin before applying foundation and after. I think that's really just going to help the foundation have as little oil on it as it can and last as long as it can as well. Give it a try and tell me if it works, because I don't know. Now, this is probably the most important one I can give. Like, please, 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 if you've got oily skin, do not use anything that's just gonna bleach and dry the skin out. Like, do not use soap. Never, ever, ever. You know how we were talking about pH earlier? Soap is an alkaline product, so it's just gonna throw the pH way out, and you're gonna be inviting bacteria in. And even if you don't get pimples and you're like, I use soap and I don't get pimples, that's because you literally have no bacteria on your face. Your face has just been stripped. And this is exactly what Proactive does as well. So brands like Proactive and things like that say, oh, my skin got better in like 2 or 3 weeks, it's because your poor skin has just been stripped raw. So whenever you come off that product, it's either going to be an absolute mess or it's just going to be damaged. It'll take a really long time to get that pH barrier back to where it should be. So just be really careful with things like that. Products like that are just like putting a band-aid over the problem, and in the long run they actually make things worse. So just be careful. And in the same vein, always look for products that say they're pH balanced. Even if you can't afford any of the products that I named before, like those brands, do go to your drugstore or just local shop. Just find something that says it's pH balanced. It's not going to be doing anything great for your skin, but at least it's not going to be doing anything bad, and it's better better than using something like Proactive or Soap. Now when you're looking for products, just look for the ones that have less oil content. So you still can use a moisturizer. I know a lot of people with oily skin just don't moisturize. You really need to moisturize, otherwise your skin's just going to get really dehydrated and it'll age quicker, and it's just not good to not moisturize. So just find one that's really thin, and you just want to find a nice light lotion, nothing too emollient. You just want it, you just want it to hydrate the skin without clogging any pores and making it feel all sticky and gross. So as I was saying before, that ingredient hyaluronic acid, if you find a moisturizer with that in it, that's great because it's not an oily consistency. It's just a molecule. It's just quite a thin substance. The problem when your skin is dehydrated is because the skin's feeling kind of tight and you just don't have that much water in your skin can kind of be tricked into thinking that it's dry, so it's going to produce more oil, and then it's just like a never-ending cycle. It's just, stripping the face thinks that it's dry when it's actually not, and then it's just going to produce more oil and you're going to get more oily skin and more acne skin. So definitely moisturize. Try to find something with hyaluronic acid in it if you can, but that's not that important. Just make sure you're using some kind of moisturizer. And the last one is probably really, really important for you guys to understand. It doesn't happen overnight, unfortunately. Like I said before, a lot of the time it is going to get worse before it gets better. While the skin's rebalancing, it's going through a lot of changes. It's kind of a little bit of a shock to the system. Our normal skin renewal process takes 28 to 35 days, they say. So depending on your age, say I put a really nice serum and moisturizer on my skin today. This layer of skin that I'm putting the moisturizer and serum on, it's gonna shed off soon anyway. So, it's kind of going to no good. But in saying that, if I'm doing it every day for 28 days, that skin that's at the bottom today, in 28 days, it's gonna be at the top. I really hope that you get that, because that's one of the main things with skincare. A lot of people think that they're gonna get overnight results, but to be honest, it can take 3 months of hard work, but it does work. It really does. Home care is so important. It's like, I always think it's like going to the gym. So I'm not gonna go have one personal training session a month and then not eat well, not go for walks and anything at home and expect results. You've got to really put in work. If you can't afford facials, just make sure you've got good stuff to use on your skin at home, and I can almost promise you, after a couple of months of using that good stuff, you'll notice a difference in your skin. Alright guys, so that concludes the first episode of Beauty School Fridays. Let me know what you thought below. Let me know if you have any kind of ideas of ways I can explain things better. Sometimes I just have things in my head and I want to get them out so badly, but I don't know if what I'm saying is understandable for people who don't really know what I'm talking about, if that makes sense. So just let me know if you've got any tips. Let me know if you've got any questions as well, and I'll try to answer those, and give me some ideas of any other kind of educational videos that you guys would like to see. If you enjoyed the video, give it a big thumbs up, please, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you next week. Thanks for watching, guys. Mwah.